city. We are blessed to have an incredible array of peace organizations, including the Granny Peace Brigade of Philadelphia, the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, the Brandywine Peace Community, and Veterans for Peace, as well as many, many others. Join us as we share a glimpse of how we share and spread peace and hope, and welcome the 2024 Peace Walkers in these very troubling times.
Hi, my name is Helen Evelyn. I am very old today, 96. Wow. Anyhow, but I've been involved with peace movement for a very, very long time, and you can see everything is peaceful now. I'm being facetious. Anyhow, I am with a bunch of peaceful friends, and I am very fortunate to have them. There is something I should say. Many little people, of course, everybody is big as they want to be. But anyhow, this says many little people in many small places undertaking many modest actions can transform the world. Now, I believe that, and I hope you believe that. Thank you very much. Bye.
Granny Peace Brigade and Will are here to greet you. We're so excited to welcome the Vets Walk 2024 coming over the bridge, the Ben Franklin Bridge, into Philadelphia. Welcome to Philadelphia, Peace Walkers. Woohoo! Woohoo!
Hi, my name is Susan Schnall. I'm currently president of National Veterans for Peace. It is wonderful and an honor to be welcomed to Philly on the Veterans for Peace Walk. So please take a look at what we're doing. Understand that we are veterans. We have been to war. We know the damage that war causes. And we're saying no more war, ceasefire now, demilitarize and decolonize. And join National Veterans for Peace. It's an easy website. We have a lot of projects that you all might be interested in. One is the Golden Rule, sails around the world for peace, and that's where the inspiration for the Peace Walk.
My name is Tara Colon. I'm with originally the Kensington Welfare Rights Union here in Philadelphia. Then I'm one of the founders of the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign that was founded by poor people and the leadership of the poor. And now we're the Poor People's Army. Not to be confused with another campaign where not everybody in the leadership positions actually come from the poor neighborhoods. It's important that when we're fighting peace and justice, that we don't forget that it's poor kids that are asked to go to war. And that's not anything new. The Romans, where do you think they recruited from? Was from the peasants, because that was an opportunity to make money because you were starving. Well, that hasn't changed. All the Kensingtons across the country, that's where the Army recruiters are. That's where the Navy recruiters are. Reminding these kids that you don't have any resources, you don't have a way to get an education, you don't have a job waiting for you. You might as well join the Army, and at least you'll have a salary, we'll pay your college. What they fail to tell these kids is that's one, if they survive, two, if they even have the mental health to be able to function back in the neighborhood when they come back. And three, the reality is that you think a kid who grew up in Kensington is gonna have the heart and not get mentally messed up when he's asked to go to another poor neighborhood across the world and kill a kid that's him when he was growing up? Same conditions that young soldier grew up in are the same conditions the people that he's supposed to be fighting find themselves in. That's what they don't tell you. It's poor people fighting against poor people. Rich kids don't fight each other.
So much promise that the U.S. does not support the development of, right? And that's across the board. And it's a result, though, it's a result of a political economy that is fine with that, because today's billionaires aspire to become trillionaires. And they can't realistically aspire to be trillionaires if they do trivial stuff like help third graders, have a decent life, stuff like that. No, that's not in their interest. An example from my own life, I'm involved in an outfit called Earthquaker Action Team. And what we did, we went in after a bank that was the main funder of mountaintop removal coal mining in Appalachia. Can you imagine? There's this mountain, there's coal we want from it. Let's not tunnel into the mountain anymore. Let's just blow up the mountain and get the coal that way, because it's cheaper. The dynamite is cheaper than paying wages to coal miners. And so that's what they were doing, and they were doing it with PNC money. Oh, let's stop PNC from being the #1 bank in the country doing this. Wouldn't that be fun? Well, I will admit, when the word got around that I was part of that campaign, some old friends called me and said, "George, now you really have lost it." Just feel like, your friend, I should just tell you you've lost it. And well, we'll see. And it did take 5 years, because we were a small group. We started in my living room. So we were a really small group. So it took us 5 years. But we forced PNC Bank, the #1 bank that was doing that outrageous thing, 7th largest bank in the country, we forced it out of financing mountaintop coal mining.
Mother Earth is calling to her children. Mother Earth freeing all through you and me. This wave is flowing, flowing and growing. This wave is flowing out to you and me. Justice is flowing, flowing and growing. Justice is flowing out to you and me. Love is flowing, flowing and growing. Love is flowing out to you and me. Peace wave is flowing, flowing and growing. Peace wave is flowing out to you and me.
Well, thank you so much for creation of that video, for music, and for it was a pleasure to hear from George Lakey and realize how much of a strength is in the peace community in Philadelphia. I wonder if we could hear from some of the people who were part of that gathering who are on the call right now. We've got 10 to 15 minutes for discussion, and we have Ellen Davidson, who was part of the walk, and Tina Shelton, Jean Haskell, and Tarek Koff with us, perhaps others. So I wonder, could we perhaps begin by asking Ellen and Tarek to comment on what you think the impact of the walk has been on yourselves and on those with whom you were encountering events along the way.
I guess I'll speak. Ellen I'm with the Peace Walk right now. We're on the 47th day of this walk. We started in Algonquin, Maine. And one of the most positive things about the walk, by the way, the walk is a Veterans for Peace national project. And am I on?
Yes,
Yeah.
you're fine.
Okay. So the walk is a Veterans for Peace national project, and we started in Algonquin, Maine. We decided to do this walk because as veterans, we're very much aware of the U.S. military's role in the two existential threats to all life on this planet, and that is nuclear war and climate destruction. So we decided to walk for peace and the planet. And when we say peace and the planet, we're talking about not just human beings, we're talking about all living creatures on this planet, including everything, including all wildlife, because these are all our relations. And we do not consider ourselves superior in any way to the rest of life on the planet. And I think that's an important point. So we decided to walk for that. We decided to walk for justice and everything that justice means, which means that every living being on this planet is entitled to security, is entitled to a home, is entitled to food, all the benefits, all the things that we're all entitled to. And we also are walking for democracy. And that's one of the things that we have experienced out here on the walk, which has been so tremendous as we walk through various communities and interact with friends, Meeting House Quakers, UU churches, and others. We find that so many people that we wouldn't ordinarily meet have just appreciated so much what we're standing for. And we're also standing for an end to these things that are threatening life on the planet, including the genocide in Gaza. We want to see that stopped, and we don't want to see our government still funding that and enabling that. So people, in answer to your question, Kathy, people have been extremely supportive, respectful, and in agreement with the goals that the Peace Walk has. And I don't know where Ellen is at this point. I guess Ellen is watching.
I'm here.
Good, Ellen. So there's Ellen, who I want to say this walk would not happen without Ellen and some other people. So thank you, Ellen. Ellen, take it from here.
Well, thank you. Could I just say you've been hearing from Tarek Koff, and thank you, Tarek, for all that you did to undertake the walk as well. Ellen, let's hear from you.
Well, I think Tarek said it all pretty well. The one thing that I want to say that about the walk is that it is a walk, and that the walk itself is the practice, that we're putting our feet on the earth and connecting with the earth, and then connecting in person with the people on the way. And I don't want to take away from the wonderful effort that you're doing here to bring people together globally on Zoom. But I also think that to really make a change, we have to connect with each other live, face to face, in person. And that's one of the important things. And we got to meet all those great people that you just saw in the video. And I give my thanks to the Philadelphia people who did such a beautiful job welcoming us and documenting it. But that's the kind of connections that we've been able to make along the way. And we're really grateful for that.
Well, thank you, Ellen. It was wonderful to see people welcoming Vets for Peace coming across the bridge. And I wonder, among some of those who were part of the Philadelphia peace community, I wonder, Tina Shelton, could we call on you for some comments?
Sure. And I know Jean is here too. I want to say, yes, thank you for recognizing George Lakey, a Quaker peace activist who's been very supportive of nonviolent action for decades. He's devoted his life to that and has created a database that World Beyond War is using for their list. It's all these wonderful connections. I hope that hope maybe somebody can drop that list in the chat about the wonderful list that World Beyond War has. By the way, since I learned about it last September, I've been sharing it like nearly every month. It's a beautiful list of nonviolent actions that resulted in change. I also want to mention that the song was adopted from the Universal Dances for Peace, and some of our the members of the Granny Peace Brigade changed the words to adapt it to this peace wave. And I know, Jean, you wanted to say something too. Yes,
absolutely.
David, that's the list for sure. I've been just sharing it so much. Where are you, Jean?
Thank you, Tina. And I'm here in Philadelphia where it's very, very hot. I don't know how it is elsewhere in the world, but we're glad that the veterans arrived last week instead of today, and I think they're probably very glad too. In honor of the Peace Wave, we were pleased to be able to bring together various peace groups. As you saw, we got together to sing, to make music, and to welcome the peace walkers. And we have several people, among them George Lakey, who have been peace activists for many, many years. Helen Evelev, whom you saw, turned 96, and she's probably been a peace activist for 80 of those years, I would guess. I don't know. So yes, we do have quite a lot of people in Philadelphia, and we have to pay a tribute to Linda Batiste, who put together the video for us.
Thank you, Jean. And, I was so impressed to see somebody from the Poor People's Campaign making that very strong point about what it means to send people who are impoverished or needy or haven't, experienced many benefits in our society over to possibly kill counterparts in other parts of the world. And that, I think the linkage between the Poor People's Campaign and anti-militarism is so, so important. So thank you for including that in the video as well, Linda. And I wonder if either Tarek or Ellen would want to say, what's the destination of the walk that you've undertaken?
Yeah, they need to say that. Heading to DC. Go ahead. Ellen, you still there?
I'm still here. I want to let Tarek, because Tarek's got there's other people there with him from the Peace Walk. So I want to turn over to that square rather than me, because I'm not on the walk at this moment.
Oh, okay. Well, Tarek, thank you.
I think they're trying to adjust the camera to get a few other people in the frame there. And you guys have to unmute. You might have to invite them again to unmute.
Thanks, Tarek, for unmuting.
I think
Okay.
There we go.
Now you can hear. Okay, so we are headed to Washington, D.C. We intend to get to Washington, D.C. on July 5th. Where is Windsor? Windsor.
Yeah.
Come on, I want Windsor to speak. Windsor is a Vietnam veteran. He was with 173rd Airborne in Vietnam. He's been with us for weeks. He's just rejoined the walk. He's going to stay with us for weeks. I want Windsor to say why he's here and what he's experiencing and what it means to him, because Windsor is a very profound guy. Go ahead, Windsor.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Windsor.
I'm Windsor. I'm a retired teacher, and I reside at Geneva, New York.
You gotta come here.
Got to come here. Is that better?
That's right.
There we go. And I felt compelled to be on this walk. My story begins, I went to Vietnam last year with Veterans for Peace for a 2-week tour, and it was extremely healing for me to go back to a place in which I was forced to go. I was drafted, of course, and spent a year in absolute hell and purgatory, and came back with a profound understanding that our country did the Vietnamese people a terrible wrong. And we're continuing to that legacy today with what's happening in Gaza. We are providing the weaponry and the policy to obliterate and perform genocide on an indigenous people. I started in the walk in Maine, and the walk, what it means to me is that it's my way to express to the world, as a person who has seen war firsthand, there's nothing that good that comes out of war. Dr. King said it profoundly. It's the most evil of all human endeavors. And, the arc of history slowly moves towards justice. And I want to be part of the movement of that arc for justice for the Palestinian people. And so I'm here. I had to leave, take care of some business, my wife's birthday, other family things, but I'm here to the very end, going to Washington, D.C., and she's going to join me in D.C. at the conclusion of our march. So So for me, this is an honor to be here among such wonderful, dedicated people. And as Tarak said, along the way, the hospitality and the graciousness of people has been amazing. It's great to hear so many horns honking, thumbs up, peace signs. I think the American people in their hearts know what's happening in Gaza is immoral and wrong. And my small part of showing my solidarity with the Palestinian people is a small thing that I can do. I'm blessed to be here.
Well, thank you. And we certainly wish all of you well on the walk as you move toward Washington, D.C. and the No to NATO, Yes to Peace gathering. So this has been really a privilege to have all of you join the Peace Wave today. Thank you. And we wish you well every step of the way.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
That's a
doing
great
this.
shot of the
We are
walkers
thrilled
there.
to be
Thank you. Great.
Look at the walkers.
So the next move that we're going to make on the Peace Wave is to a video that was created when a group that is creating a tribunal that it will seek justice for Korean victims of the bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. These were Korean people who had been forced and displaced and forced into forcible labor in Japan. And so they have never received an apology or any kind of reparations in spite of having experienced tremendous suffering and trauma because of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So they've prepared a video that shows a presentation, and we'll have captions to accompany that video. Thanks, David, for showing the video. And this group is called Spark, and they are planning a tribunal which will be developing actually through efforts connected with the United Nations in New York City.
Apparently this is a video format you can't show directly through Zoom. So I'm going to share screen to desktop and go to the video, and let me know if that doesn't work.
Thanks, David. Great.
And now I want to speak my message in Korean, please. 한국인 원폭 희생자 위령비 앞에서 지긋한 아픔을 안고
When we look at these colorful flowers, we feel the souls of our ancestors and the victims of the atomic bomb seems to bring us the beautiful fragrance of these flowers. We know that 10% of the atomic bomb victims who perished 79 years ago here were Koreans. They had been drafted and collected and brought here by force to work away from their family and away from their homeland, all in fulfillment of the Japanese policy. In this place, we can almost feel the suffering they endured. When can we claim their souls and comfort them in their homeland? When will the silent perpetrator apologize and offer the compensation for those victims? In this beautiful June, blooming with beautiful flowers and lush green leaves, all of us here at this memorial for this occasion must remember that we can live together as a human race in harmony and and happiness.
기억에 남는 이 자리가 되기를 바랍니다.
To comfort the souls
79년 전 원폭으로
of
희생되신
the victims
원혼을 위로하는
of those 79
고향의 봄
years
노래를
ago.
대금으로
I would like to
연주하고자 합니다.
play
한국은
a song
후손의 회장 이태수
dedicated to them called The Spring in My Hometown.
Well, thank you. That was Spring in My Hometown, and it was a song that was dedicated to the people in Korea who perished in the atomic bomb attacks. If you look up Brad Wolf on Counterpunch, you can read a very moving article that he's written about this process of starting the new tribunal. Next, the Peace Wave will be moving to the Midwest, to Madison, Wisconsin. There's a chapter of World Beyond War in Madison, Wisconsin, and I believe we have Sergey present with us. So I asked Sergey if he might unmute himself. And first, we'll begin with a video that was prepared by the World Beyond War chapter in Madison. Thank you.
David, can you play it?
Working on it, fast as I can.
Hello, Sergey.
Hi, Sergey.
Sergey, thank you.
Sergey.
Either way is fine.
Demonstrators in Madison say they're putting the pressure on Senator Tammy Baldwin to call for a ceasefire in Israel and Palestine. Madison for a World Beyond War and Jewish Voice for Peace have been setting up vigils outside of the senator's Madison office for the past week. At today's event, they read the names of the children who have been killed in the bombing of Gaza. They say Senator Baldwin should join the other members of Congress who have made public statements for a ceasefire and to cut military aid to Israel.
There's only so much that letter writing and phone calling and phone banking can do. She needs to see the people in front of her office saying, this is wrong, what we are supporting, what our tax dollars are supporting is wrong, and what's being done in the name of Judaism is wrong.
Back in October, Madison Representative Mark Pocan made a statement calling for a ceasefire and for the United States to send more humanitarian aid to Gaza.
And today, Wisconsin Senator Tammy Baldwin met with activists who are calling for a ceasefire in the war. The group World Beyond War has held a vigil outside the senator's office since December 1st. Organizers say they want Baldwin to call for a ceasefire. They are also asking for a cut to military aid to Israel. Activists say they are meeting with the senator that it wasn't ideal, but it's a sign of progress.
There is hope, there are people, there are numbers, voices are being heard. Even if action isn't being done right now, the voices are being heard and the people will be heard.
One activist said he doesn't plan to rest until there is a ceasefire.
In Madison, activists gathered at the state capitol to raise awareness of the war. They're urging U.S. senators to vote no on the Biden administration's request for another $14 billion of military aid to Israel. They say they think the violence has gone on long enough and needs to end.
We represent the only real power that will change this. It is people power. It is our capacity to mobilize, to organize internationally and demand an end to this, to absolutely demand that this horrific violence end.
On January 16th, Tammy Baldwin and Ron Johnson voted down Bernie Sanders' Senate resolution for steps to hold Israel accountable and halt the supply of weapons from the U.S.
President Biden's visit was protested by members of Madison for a World Beyond War. The group called on President Biden to stop selling arms to Israel and Ukraine.
And to negotiate an end to conflicts in those countries. Group members argue the U.S. is helping continue the conflicts by supplying the weapons used on the battlefield. JT Siskowski is live outside of Madison College, where he has been all day covering these protests. JT, how did the protesters react to the president's new announcement on forgiving student loan debt?
Yeah, they said that the proposal is nice, but it's far from their most important priority. Many of them said that their number one priority is ending the war in Gaza. In fact, they say that this is an issue with local salience because local tax dollars are ultimately going to continue these wars via U.S. military aid. The protest was organized by World Beyond War and Jewish Voice for Peace. Both of those groups have Madison chapters. They ultimately want the president to stop arming Israel and Ukraine and instead negotiate ceasefires in both of those conflicts. The protest was at the intersection of Wright and Anderson Streets in Madison, just outside of Madison College. There were plenty of chants and signs and flags to gain attention.
Solidarity forever.
Yeah, maybe we'll see you there. Bye.
This morning we are laying out shoes to represent the lives of the people in Gaza that have been lost. It's like a Palestinian Holocaust. In World War II, there were piles of shoes outside the gas chambers at Auschwitz and the other concentration camps, and that was what gave us the idea of representing lives lost here this morning. And we're calling for ceasefire in Gaza. We're calling for a humanitarian aid to the people in Gaza, and we're calling for an end to military weapon shipments to Israel. And I might say that this is a humanitarian event. We are concerned about the lives of the Israelis that were lost when the Hamas military group attacked, and we're concerned about the Gazans who died in the retaliatory strikes by Israel.
Thank you.
This is not a political event, this is a humanitarian event.
Omar Mahmoud Kanaan, male 5 years old. Muhammad Naufal Yusuf As-Salak, male 5 years old. Nisreen Ibrahim Ahmed Al-Sauban, female 5 years old. Dima Mahmoud Hassan Al-Khattab, female 5 years old. Saja Muhammad Nafi Al-Dairi, female 5 years old. Siwar Ibrahim Muhammad Al-Mahbub, female 5 years old. Shahid Saqr Izzat Abu Rikba, female 5 years old. Ahmad Muhammad Affan, male 5 years old.
Well, thank you for that stirring video. That was Dr. Paula Rogi talking in the plaza where the shoes had been laid out. They were in the rotunda in Madison for the silent vigil. And now we have Sergey with us. Sergey, I believe we're going to hear you sing. Is that right? Could you unmute yourself? Or
There we go.
yeah, thank you.
Hi. So I'll sing a song. Thanks for watching the video. Even for me, I've seen it a few times and it's hard to watch it every time. So I'll dedicate the song to ceasefire in Gaza.
Pink waterfalls rolling down all the way to the sea. And I want a pink picnic blanket where we could sit and watch sunset in the breeze. I want to see hot pink cherry trees spiders that weave pink web to trap unsuspecting pink flies. And I want hot pink silkworms spinning silk that we make into pink gowns for new moms to wear on their morning walks. They just gave birth.
Well, thank you, Sergey. That was quite beautiful. Sergey, I wonder, would you like to say anything about that composition, and also perhaps tell us more about the Madison to combine Jewish Voice for Peace, Madison World Beyond War, and I know also the Code Pink Madison chapter, and I imagine the sister cities for Rafa. Have you had any success in reaching out to Tammy Baldwin and trying to persuade her? Okay, talk to us a bit about that, okay?
Sergey, could you mute for 1 second? Or whatever you just did that stopped the clicking noise, could you do that, but make sure you can talk? No, well, now we have to. Are you able to unmute and talk, but without the clicking noise?
Sergey, unmute, yeah.
Sorry, my my intention was not to create silence. I don't know what's going on. Sergey, can you unmute and talk even if it's with the clicking noise?
Sergey, we just have to ask you to unmute.
Sorry, I was fixing something else, so my apologies. Did you hear the song, the vocal, or was it silent?
The music was beautiful, the vocal was beautiful. There was just click, 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 click as well. But that's okay. Go ahead.
Where should I start first? What should I? In Madison, we have a fairly strong cooperation between all the groups, especially since the offensive in Gaza. So many groups are joining together. It's wonderful. Have we reached our elected officials and have had our questions and demands met? Not so much.
Mm-hmm.
The politics in DC is its own thing, and Wisconsin is a complicated place. It's a very purple state. They have to cater to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Well, it certainly seems like you've had tremendous energy and creativity and diversity in the kinds of actions that have developed, and quite a lot of media coverage, it would seem. Do you think that the numbers of people that you're reaching will continue to grow? I mean, it seemed like the rotunda was pretty full for that silent vigil, and
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was just a short notice event to mimic the Red Line in DC. We were surprised that within a few days of announcing it, that so many people came. And the encampment at UW was massive. Unfortunately, the students aren't here for the summer. So I expect when the school year starts again, the movement is going to keep growing. And Madison has a rich history of anti-war activism, and I think it's getting revived.
Uh-huh. Well, thank you. I noticed there's another Madison activist on the call, himself a media person, Gil Halstead, and he and Steffi have done tremendous work on building the movement. I wonder, Gil, would you want to make any comments?
Hello. This is not Gil. I was not able to change the name, but yeah, I wanted to change the name. I'm Stefania, and it's wonderful to see all of you here. Thank you very much to all, and to Sergey to be so greatly representing us. It has been another year of a lot of successful work, I would say, and yet we haven't moved an inch towards the right kind of changes, the kind of changes that we'd like to see. And yet this year has been good, I think, in reaching out the community and creating solidarity and cooperation among different groups. As a matter of fact, there are things coming up that we are gearing for. This next week, we were just informed that Madison, apparently with the approval of the city council, is hosting a war industry conference. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of talks around it of how we can show, be out there and show our unequivocal opposition to that. Other things in the work are in collaboration with some of our most progressive elected officials, we'll be looking at a BDS law legislation that has been active here in this state. And that is, it obviously does not help the state, doesn't do anything for anybody, but just being another tool in the hands of capitalism. So we're going to try to have a campaign around that, which should also help, going back to what Sergey was saying about the encampment, that campaign should also help the students in their demands of divestment from Israeli industries, because the university of being one of state agencies, basically, that could not do that. And the other thing that we are looking at is Netanyahu's visit on the 24th of July, how we can responsabilize our federal delegation to say, what are you going to do about that? And so we want you to stand against that. So all of that.
Thank you, Stefania. In the chat, there's a question from our dear friend Catherine Potigil, who wonders if you could say more about the Madison Council, the conference on war industry. She wonders if any of that is going to be online, whether your protest or what the conference is presenting.
Well,
the conference. Feel free to turn on your video, Stefania, if you want us to see you.
I'm really almost in pajama here. I think
it's up to you.
Okay, all right. Well, if you don't mind,
Oh, Stefania, you muted yourself.
Anyway, the conference is entirely secret. It was sleuthed by people in our community. They don't allow any press. It's highly classified. It's all Defense Department and Boeing and Lockheed and Advanced Materials and Hypersonic Weapons. And they're doing it in a posh conference center downtown Madison. And we'll roll the red carpet out for them and say our welcomes.
Well, Sergey, that's fascinating. Go ahead, Stefania.
We are sort of hesitant at this point to say much because of trying to keep things under the carpet at this point. We don't want to publicize too much. But thank you for asking. That is a quote unquote exciting event. I mean, it's an event that is so good for us such a good excuse for us, a good reason for us to be out there.
Well, thank you. We've certainly been aware of Madison's objection to the F-35s that are stationed at Truax Field, and one wonders, why do they choose Madison, one of the most liberal cities, or also in Vermont? That's another place where these horrible warplanes have been stationed. Before we move on to the next segment, we also have Ellen Davidson with us. And Ellen, I know that you're not with the walk right now, but I wonder, could you just tell us what do you think is the most essential ingredient for organizing one of these kind of lengthy and demanding walks? What do you think is so important?
The support of the people who are on the ground in the places we're walking through. Everything from knowing what roads are safe to walk on, because Google Maps is, only goes so far, to knowing who are the other peace forces in the area that we can connect with, to finding us places to stay, which I have to say that the Quaker Friends meetings along the way have been extremely generous. So it's the people on site in the communities that we're walking through that are the most important thing.
Okay. Well, thank you very, very much to everybody from Madison and from Philadelphia who certainly inspired and challenged us during this segment. And we wish you well, and we hope that your influence will ripple out more and more. So thank you. Good visuals, good music, and thanks for all the comments. We'll be moving now in the next segment to North Carolina, Asheville, North Carolina, where a group of people has steadily been holding a vigil. They I believe initially convened because of the development of a sprawling new complex that's a combination of RTX and Pratt Whitney that they've been opposed to, want to be in touch with Ken Jones. And I'm just going to ask Ken to unmute himself.
I think we're unmuted.
Wonderful. Hi, Ken. Thank you so much for being with us.
Hi, everybody. Good to be here. So welcome to Asheville, North Carolina. And we have been out on this bridge you can see behind me for almost 5 months now on behalf of what's happening in Palestine.
Hey, Ken.
Genocide. Yeah.
Can you, if you can hear me, you had asked me to start by showing some images. So I'm showing those images. Do you want me to turn that on or off?
No, I would love for people to see that.
Okay, so these are pictures of what they are up to.
That's what you can see from the road when you drive under the bridge. So let me know when you get, I'm not looking at the screen, David.
Just showing each one for a couple seconds. I'm on the last one.
Okay.
I'm done.
All right, good. So you can see what these giant banners look like. We got the idea from the Backbone campaign out in Seattle. So we have half a dozen of these giant banners that we come out, and every week we do this. So you can see the sign behind us, which is we made 3 years ago when we first started doing the Global Peace Wave. And underneath you can see people on the bridge, which we'll get a chance to talk to them before we go off today. So I just want to point out the little signature up there on the sign says Reject Raytheon. And that's our group that has been around for 3.5 years. And as someone said just now, we've been pushing back on the Pratt Whitney plant here. And the thing that people understand is that there is a connection, direct connection from that plant to what's happening in Palestine, because the parts for the engines in the F-16s and the F-35s that are bombing Gaza are made by Pratt Whitney. So that's our plant here, and they have plants elsewhere, but that's our local rendition of the military-industrial complex. So we're the sponsor of this, but people from other organizations are showing up on the bridge with us. And we'll talk to some of them. We're going to walk down and look back up at the signs right now, and then we'll walk onto the bridge. So walk with us down here as we go. So I'm hoping that the traffic noise isn't too bad for you. And we can hear it loud and clear, but maybe you can't. Can you hear me?
Ken,
Sure
there's a question in the chat. How do you make those amazing banners?
Oh yeah, let me tell you about that. If you go to Backbone Campaign, you will find a web page on making the giant banners, and they send you the kits to make them. It's a labor-intensive thing, so beware. So you can see that we're live now. You can see we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have about a dozen people up on the bridge. And that's usually what we get, sometimes more. And we get our share of peace signs and thumbs up and also the finger. So that's part of it. Okay, so that's what they look like. And now we're going to walk up on the bridge and talk to the people standing up there. So come on with us.
Ken, I'm just going to interrupt and say that Robin Cohen wanted to know the name of the group, and David has just put it in the chat. That's the Backbone Campaign that sends a kit to make these amazing signs.
We lost.
Okay, we're back up at the top of the bridge now.
We lost.
Okay, we're back up at the top of the bridge now.
Here we are.
And we're just going to go talk to people here.
Great.
Maybe you can see some of the traffic going by too. There's Melody Shang.
Hello, Melody.
Hi.
You want to say a word?
No, I'll say it later.
Okay. Cindy, would you like to say something to the camera while you're here?
I'm here because I'm old and I thought the world would be a better place at this point, but I don't think it is. So I just keep trying.
You have a certain kind of understanding about what's going on in Palestine that you can share with us?
Well, yeah. I mean, other than the genocide, which a lot of people appear to be ignoring, I once had some Jewish friends tell me that what is going on with the Palestinians is maybe analogous to what white Europeans did to the native people in this country. That upsets me greatly. So I don't know what the solution will be. I think the Palestinian people should decide what they want, but they have a right to a homeland too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're coming up to Jake here, and Jake is with Jewish Boys for Peace. Jake, tell us why you're here, what you're doing.
So yeah, I'm a JVP member. I've been involved in the movement for over a decade now, and things have only gotten worse. And I'm here because as a Jew, this to me is never again means never again for anybody. And what is happening now in particular is just so unbelievably horrific, and the normalization and support is so unbelievably disturbing. And we just want peace. We want peace for all people. That plot of land from the Mediterranean Sea to the River Jordan, and a free Palestine for everybody.
Okay, we'll move on down the line. Have a look at this traffic coming on. Now, this is midday Saturday. We come out here 4:30 to 5:30 or 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. to catch the rush hour. There are thousands of cars that come at those times. This is very light traffic right now for this bridge. Right. All right, you want to say a word to the camera?
Sure, I'll say a word.
All right, tell us why you're here.
We're out here bringing awareness to the genocide in Palestine and making sure that to remind people that there's no everyday normal life when there's a genocide happening. Raising awareness, free Palestine.
Paige.
Hey.
This is Paige.
Howdy, y'all.
Tell us why you're here, Paige.
I'm here because ever since I was a kid, I always wondered in history class how people just sat by and watched all these injustices happen. I couldn't understand how in our own country, people just stood aside and watched Black people be set upon by dogs and hosed down by police with fire hoses just for asking for their same rights as everyone else. And so to see what is an actual genocide being carried out thanks to American tax dollars, it's just something that I can't stand by and watch happen. And I feel like it's all of our duty to do what we can to try to get the war machine to finally take its eyes off of Palestine and to allow the Palestinian people to have the same self-determination and sovereignty that all people deserve on this planet.
All right, thank you, Paige. Got a couple people standing out here who just prefer not to speak, but hi, everybody. Hi, Padma. So, Bob, did you want to speak to the camera while you're here? Bob is with Veterans for Peace.
I don't like what's happening in Gaza. That's why I'm here today. Thank you.
Simple as that. Thank you.
Simple. I'm with Bob. I'm with the chorus, and I do not believe in killing anybody. So I stand here for myself as well as the people around the world. I need the company. That's it.
Here is Ann Craig, another member of Jewish Voice for Peace.
Right. Well, if we don't change direction, we're going to wind up in the direction we're headed, which is just constant war, environmental destruction, and an unlivable planet for human beings and other life forms. And this, to me, is the tipping point issue. With the U.S.'s assistance, Israel has decimated Gaza. There's an environmental crisis going on there, in addition to a humanitarian crisis and a genocide. We have got to start realizing that we have to change direction. That's the only way we're going to survive on this planet.
All right, thank you, Ann. Kathleen, would you like to say why you're here?
There, Kathleen, visiting my hometown from Tucson, Arizona, where there's one of the largest Raytheon companies employing over 10,000, 12,000 people. The only people that are profiting from what's going on over now in the Middle East, as well as many other places, is our military industrial complex, as well as all the people that will be benefiting from reconstruction. All the companies that have to go in and attempt to recreate the infrastructure. The amount of water needed to make concrete is going to decimate an area that already is water poor. Please let your elected officials know what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. We have two Claires here. Go to this Claire over here with the Palestinian flag. Claire is a member of the Party for Socialism and Liberation, and we're proud to have her with us. Tell us why you're here, Claire.
We're out here today because for 9 months, we've been watching in live and in real time a genocide happen before our eyes. That genocide is funded, armed, equipped, and shielded from international sanction by our government. We live in a counterfeit democracy where we claim to have two parties, but we have one party. We've got a war party, a party of imperialism, a party of oppression, a party of exploitation, and a party of genocide. And we're here because we, the people, are the red line. If the politicians can't see that, we will make them see it. And we'll be here until Palestine is free.
Right on. And now we have another Claire, an elder Claire. Tell us why you're here, Claire.
Because I need to stand in solidarity with all my sisters and brothers who come day after day after day after year. In this town, many of these folks here, we've stood over 20 years, 25 years on various issues, all related to war. And now we have this genocide happening. And I gained courage standing with my friends, and I gained courage standing in solidarity. And I ditto everything Claire here said. We live in a war economy and we must resist. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Claire. And now we have one more person, my partner, Melody Shang.
Hi. So I'm here because in 2015, Ken and I went to Palestine, and we saw firsthand what the IDF does to Palestinians, to children, to families. They knock their houses down. They ransack their houses in the middle of the night. They take their children to the prison. We stood on the spot where a 13-year-old boy was shot in the head by an IDF sniper. And most people in this country, including the Jewish population, don't know what's happening there. The Palestinian people have been enduring and have been quite resilient. And this siege on Gaza is just the most recent siege on Gaza and the Palestinian people. And it seems apparent that Israel really intends to wipe them out to the extent that they can. So it's this, standing on this bridge is a small thing that I can do.
Thank you. Thank you. That is close to our 15 minutes, I think. But why don't we take a step back and look at the whole group? Come back here with that. Hey, Melody.
So Ken, I want you to know that in the chat, we've seen some very encouraging, grateful words, and people also wanted to say it must be very hot out there and they don't want you to get dehydrated. So that's
Thank you, Kathy. It is hot. Not as hot as maybe where you all are, but we did bring water. Thanks.
Great. Well, that's been wonderful to hear the statements of every person and to know that those visuals are being displayed to so many people passing under the bridge. And I'm sure what you're doing will be a bridge toward a saner world. Thank you very, very much. And these are folks in Asheville, Wisconsin. And we're now
North Carolina.
Asheville,
Oh my
North
goodness.
Carolina.
Asheville, North Carolina. Forgive me, of course. Sorry, I still had Madison on the brain. That was North Carolina. Thank you. And now we're going to turn to, I believe in the Boston area, Ben Grosscup is a singer, and we have a video of several of Ben's songs. And I'm so grateful to see Ben. I first had gotten to know him when he went to Iraq to break the economic sanctions. I think he was 18 years old, and it was a very brave move on his part. He's written songs, he's sung other people's songs, and has certainly been a great accompaniment for World Beyond War as he gets ready to participate in the No to NATO, Yes to Peace conference. So David Swanson, are we going to start with the video?
Well, Ben wants to be unmuted, but if he talks, he's going to eat away the seconds with which we had to play his songs. So
go right ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Here we go. I'm certain Ben will also have comments on the technical failures of how I play these songs, but you will have to just jump in and speak up, Ben, because I won't see your comments. I'll be playing the songs. Here we go.
The army closed you in as they drove you from the plains. They're turning your homeland to a sacrifice zone. The company took the uranium, just the fallout remains. They're turning your homeland to a sacrifice zone, where your story's been forgotten. We will make it known. Sing that with me. We will make it known. We will make it known. Pine Ridge, you are not alone. Pine Ridge, you are not alone. Your homeland has been desecrated. The next could be our own. No more sacrifice zones. No more sacrifice zones. No more sacrifice zones. No more sacrifice zones. The state makes voting obsolete through emergency decrees. They're turning your city to a sacrifice zone. The cops occupy your street to bring you to your knees. They're turning your city to a sacrifice zone where your story's been forgotten. Where your story's been forgot, we will make it known. We will make it known. Ferguson, you are not alone. Ferguson, you are not alone. Your city has been subjugated. The next could be our own. No more sacrifice zones. No more sacrifice zones. The coalmen blew the mountain, killing everything nearby. They're turning your region to a sacrifice zone. The state refuses to help your people as you watch them die. They're turning your region to a sacrifice zone where your story's been forgotten. Where your story's been forgotten, we will make it known. Appalachia, Appalachia, you are not alone. Your region has been desolated. The next could be our own. No more sacrifice zones. No more sacrifice zones. Beautiful. The fighter jets will cut you down to push you all away. They're turning your nation to a sacrifice zone. The bombs that kill your children came from the USA. They're turning your nation to a sacrifice zone where your story's been forgotten. Where your story's been forgotten, we will make it known. Palestine, Palestine, you are not alone. Your nation has been decimated. The next could be our own. No more sacrifice zones. No more sacrifice zones. Where your story's been forgotten, we will make it known. Pine Ridge, Ferguson, Appalachia, Yemen, Immokalee, Flint, Michigan, Northern Alberta, and Camden, Standing Rock, Navajo, Palestine, and Puerto Rico. We stand with you. You are not alone. Your lands and lives were sacrificed. The next will be our own. No more sacrifice zones. No more sacrifice zones. No more sacrifice zones. No more sacrifice zones. Hello, comrades! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! I'm from Western Massachusetts. I was in town today for another gig, and I heard about this rally. I wrote this song for the campus movement for Palestine. And it's got a sing-along part. It's called Shut Down the System Now. This little QR code in front of me on the floor actually has all the lyrics to all of my Palestine songs if you want to take a look at that. But all you really got to know right now is shut down the system now. I came here for school so I could be an engineer. Shut down the system now. They want to use me as a tool, designing high-tech weapons gear. Shut down the system now. But I want to use my brains for pursuits that bring me pride. Shut down the system now. Not making fighter planes for the Gaza genocide. Shut down the system now. We're gonna shut down the system now. Shut down the system now. Raise up your fist and show you can resist them. Shut down the system now. Oh, you guys sound so good. So I considered a career with a politics degree. Shut down the system now. And my professors tried to steer me to the U.S. Embassy. Shut down the system now. Where the policy is made so Uncle Sam can feel on top. Shut down the system now. Even if when they invade over 1 million bodies drop. Shut down the system now. Shut down the system now. Shut it down. Shut down the system now. Raise up your fist and show you can resist them. Shut down the system now. So I gave it one more try and took a full course in PR. Shut down the system now. And I learned the reason why some people are the way they are. Shut down the system now. When Zionism feels a threat to keeping all the land it stole. Shut down the system now. It trains an army of cadets to be Hasbara online trolls. Shut down the system now. Shut down the system now. Shut down the system now. Raise up your fist and show you can resist them. Shut down the system now. As my disenchantment grew with my university. Shut down the system now. I realized it was true. I am much more than my degree. Shut down the system now. For I've learned to stand up for the oppressed and my own rights. Shut down the system now. Standing in the way of war in the campus square each night. Shut down the system now. Shut down the system now. Gonna shut down the system now. Raise up your fist. Raise up your fist and show you can resist them. Shut down the system now. Let's do it just with our voices. No guitar, no percussion. Shut down the system now. Let's shut down the system now. We're gonna shut down the system now. Raise up your fist. Raise up your fist and show you can resist them. Shut down the system. Shut down the system. Shut down the system now.
Well, thank you, Ben. We'll look forward to discussion with you later in this segment. And now we're going to turn our attention to Daniel Ellsberg Week. This was a week across country commemorating the great Daniel Ellsberg and his strong resistance to nuclear weapons. And there are people who have certainly heard his clarion cry. So we have a video, and then we'll look forward to being able to talk with some of the people who've arranged these actions who are with us on this call. Thanks, David.
I'm Cheryl Spencer with the Peninsula Palo Alto branch of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. Wolf has been working against war and for disarmament since 1915. Yes, that's 109 years, and we see the intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, as the most dangerous weapons we have ever worked to be abolished. The ICBMs that are launched from this Vandenberg Space Force base, where we are standing this afternoon, are one of these types of nuclear weapons. They have nuclear weapons in the tips of the missiles, 1 or maybe 3, and each one is worth 335 kilotons. Take 3 of them and you have a destructive force which is 50 times the destructive force that the one bomb on Hiroshima exerted. And you know 125,000 people were killed in Hiroshima. That was 79 years ago. Therefore we call ICBMs weapons of mass destruction, because the United States has about 400 of them sitting in underground silos in Colorado, Montana, Nebraska, North Dakota, and Wyoming, and they are ready to be launched towards an enemy such as Russia. Now, if our incoming missile detection system, part of which is in the Hawaiian Islands, detects some enemy ICBMs hurtling towards us, our president has just a few minutes to decide whether to launch some or all of our 400 ICBMs. We need to get them in the air before the enemy ICBM arrives at the silo, because the enemy ICBMs know exactly where the silos are. It's well advertised. So we want to get our bombs in the air before theirs arrive. Unfortunately, theirs will still go off when they get to Dakota, North Dakota or Colorado, and the people who live there are going to be blown to smithereens, okay? So if our president should receive a false alarm, and he sends off the ICBMs without knowing it was a false alarm, there's no calling them back. They are on their way. So we will end up with multiple nuclear weapons exploding all over Russia and all over the Midwest. The ICBM that will be launched here tonight to check that the missile part of it still works is quite old. And some politicians in Congress have asked that all 400 of the old missiles be replaced by a new missile which they're calling the Sentinel. The original cost of that program was nearly $300 billion. That's an awful lot of money. Now the estimate's up to $315 billion. And some acquisition costs have increased 37% in the last 2 years. So that has triggered a re-evaluation of the program, because there is an act called the Nunn-McCurdy Act. So the Pentagon is supposed to be looking into this, and they are going to issue a report in the next few days about are they going to proceed with the Sentinel program or not. But do we really need 3 different delivery systems? We have submarines that can launch ballistic missiles, and we have bombers that can drop them. Our enemies don't know where the submarines are or where our planes are, okay? But they do know where the ICBMs are in Wyoming and North Dakota. So the military and generals have said, we really don't want these ICBMs. They're redundant and they are dangerous, okay? They're dangerous to the world as a whole. So how are they sold to the American public? Well, they're sold as a jobs program. So Northrop Grumman, for example, promised 10,000 jobs from the program. But research shows that healthcare, non-fossil fuel energy, infrastructure, and education are all more effective at creating jobs given comparable levels of government investment. So the land-based ICBMs in the Midwest of our country are sitting ducks, and they make the US more vulnerable to a nuclear attack, not less.
I'm Judy Tologan Chumash from California, from right here in this region. This is my people are the traditional owners of this land. So I often use the 8 points of genocide denialism in America. We want to kind of hold that today. This is oftentimes why we've come this far, 70 years. And people still don't realize that dying from bombs, nuclear holocaust, is not inevitable. Huh? That dying from war is not inevitable. And we have watched our very own population be programmed and indoctrinated to believe this system of punitive, of punity, of hatred, and of genocide denialism. Okay, we're right in the country, my friends. So I guess I'm going to run through it really quite. These are points that are used in genocide scholarship in Southern California. A lot of my students are genocide scholars, and I am one by default. So, terras nullius, they didn't exist, my people. The right to take land from an indigenous population. If they did, they weren't here. And that would be terras nullius. If they were, they didn't use the land. Doctrine of Discovery, 1992, a campaign that I worked hard on, and we're going to resurrect that conversation. If they did, they lost it. Right of conquest. Really, my loves, you must put these into your daily practice of prayers. By no fault have people been indoctrinated into these concepts and these belief systems, even as spiritual people. Even in our spiritual reality, we seem to want to just deny some of this. And I'm standing right before you. What I see in Gaza is what I see right here. It is no different. If you've not seen a Cree child die of starvation, then that would be your fault as an American. You need to know this. It happens now, today, in the 2024. If they didn't, it doesn't matter anymore if we lost it, and that Westphalian sovereignty. If it does exist, we need to move on. Liberalism. If we can't, we are you. Okay, so this is, I want to just say that the 8 points that I'm rattling off are measures of elimination of indigenous peoples. The last one is self-indigenizing, something that we are faced with on campus communities and other places where people self-indigenize and they claim to be indigenous and they take up space as doctorates, as authors, you know, and as formative leaders in our community with Native people as well, claim indigenous tribes. I've been doing this all of my life, and I never see where it is not intersected. And I want to say that it was us in the North, many of us, Luke Cole, who is no longer with us, Southwest Organizing Committee, I know we've got stuff about them, us. We as Americans in the North, as activists, have gone to the Global South and brought that information back. We've gone to Jeju, we've gone to places where Americans don't go, and we bring that information back and we educate people. That's how dogged we have to be, obviously.
Judy was arrested here with Daniel Ellsberg February 25th, 2012, along with 14 other people, and it's a tribute to how powerful this can be.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Corporation and members of Congress, and it goes on and on. So these are the subpoena is asking for this documentation of the crimes that this company has committed, these war crimes that this company has committed, because they are a merchant of death. So we're leaving the subpoena for Lockheed Martin, the War Crimes Tribunal subpoena, and a petition with over 4,000 signatures on it to Lockheed Martin, asking them to transition to peacetime industry, leaving it here for them. Thanks for having us.
Much happier to be making something useful.
She's interfering with service
I'm sorry that you're trying to interfere with service of process. It's a valid service.
All right.
Wow.
McGregor, there was a question about whether or not the 8 points that Judy had presented are possibly posted online. Could you answer that?
I'm sure you can find them. I'm not going to look for them right now. I'm sure Judy would be delighted to provide them. Send me an email. I'll put it in the chat later. I wanted to say how beautiful. I want to tell everyone the woman in pink that was in San Francisco is Cynthia Papermaster, and she also was a co-defendant with Daniel Ellsberg on February 12th, 2012. She was one of the co-defendants, as was Chumash Sovereignaire, Judy Tologan, and I want to hold in our memories Friar Louis Vitale, who was also there that night, and David Krieger of the Nuclear Age Peace Foundation, who was also there that night. And of course, our beloved Daniel Ellsberg was there that night. And his presence was so powerful that they canceled the trial. They brought all the defendants, after they were all arrested there, they brought them all together in Santa Barbara, Cindy Sheehan, Lynn Hamilton, Judy Tologan, Daniel Ellsberg, and they dropped the case because they did not want it discussed. The international continental ballistic missile launches from Vandenberg are not secret. They used to announce them with pride. Come watch. After Daniel Ellsberg's arrest, this is the power of this man, they did not want people looking at it, and they stopped announcing the launches. So since 2012, we've had very few and very small actual launches, protests at the front gate, because it's very difficult to do in 72 hours. But thanks to World Beyond War, the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, and Veterans for Peace, the Guadalupe Catholic Worker, the whole Catholic Worker movement, and other people, they've started to happen again. It is hard to do, but if you live anywhere in Southern California, you're much closer than the rest of the world, for this is an international horror, and we need to expose the double standard that treats North Korea as a criminal when they do the same thing.
And McGregor, may I say thank you to you, because I know you've been an organizing force for decades, and we will come back to you. There's a time slotted for discussion later on.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, thank you. We move now to a representation that's been filmed of a kind of readers' theater, focusing on the Freedom Theater in Jenin and presenting the testimony of people who launched that theater. So we'll watch that film, and then we'll be going, and well, we certainly want to thank Linda Campbell, Sally Campbell, and Michael McNamara for this film. Thank you.
We begin with the history and founding of the Freedom Theater, then called the Stone Theater, in the Jenin refugee camp. It was founded by Arna Mercamas, whom you are about to meet. First, though, her son, Giuliano Mercamas, co-founder and artistic director of the Freedom Theater.
It's Giuliano Mercamas. I'm an actor, pretty successful. Successful, not good. Good is for you to judge. But successful, at least by my salary. My mother was Israeli and my father was Palestinian. So I tried both sides. I joined the Israeli parachuters, and after 3 years, I tried to join the Palestinian Liberation Organization. Then I had 2 years in the Philippines with magic mushrooms in the jungle, and I lost all my identities. I came back and said, okay, you have a gift. You are not only consciously unnationalized, you are inside yourself divided. Use it. Now, I live trying to implement what I think in my body, in my acts, in my daily life. But to tell my story, I must begin with my mother.
I was born in 1929 in a small community of Palestine. These rocky but green hills between the Sea of Galilee and the Lebanese border were at the time under the British mandate.
In 1948, my mother joined the Special Forces, fighting for the establishment of the Israeli state, expelling the Palestinians from their homeland. When she realized that what she had been told was a big lie, I am quoting her, that she was taking part in the ethnic cleansing of Palestine, she decided to leave the Israeli army.
The land, the source of livelihood and foundation of an entire Palestinian culture, has passed into the hands of others through sheer robbery or forced displacement. This has left a deep wound in my soul. While one half of me is intact, the other bears the terrible pain of that reality.
She joined the Communist Party. Here she meets my father, Saliba, a Palestinian Christian from Nazareth. He's handsome and she is beautiful, and they fell in love. And they got married and had 3 sons. And this is a big, big scandal. My mother obviously became an activist for the liberation of Palestine. She becomes an anti-Zionist. But let's be clear, because people get anxious when they hear this. Being anti-Zionist does not mean being anti-Jewish.
In this land were sown the seeds of racism and suffering, wars and death and pain. An entire Palestinian nation stands before us bereft of human rights, where children grow up surrounded by the imagery of soldiers, stones, and guns.
My mother educates herself to become a therapist through arts, but is banned to teach in Israeli schools because she was married to a communist Arab Christian Palestinian. Things were difficult, and she even worked in construction as an illegal worker. Then, in the 80s, at the beginning of the first Intifada, she took her crafts and became to the Jenin refugee camp.
Ahmed Tobasi, current artistic director, the Freedom Theater.
I was born in Jenin refugee camp. My grandmother was expelled from her village in 1948 and was part of the first generation that fled here. It has always been Israeli soldiers, wanted people, attacks, martyrs, tanks, army, shooting. There's not so much food or electricity, and we live very simple houses. But as kids growing up, we had fun.
My mother just appeared in the streets of the camp. She has some paper, some pencils. She is barefoot. She's a woman with a big white dress that looks like pajamas from a mental hospital.
I was very little, and I saw this old lady wearing the Palestinian scarf, and around her a line of children on the floor at least 50 meters long, doing arts, painting, and drawing.
Paper was unrolled, paints and brushes distributed, and hundreds of children together could be seen laughing and shouting, painting their thoughts and dreams, their anger and hope in all the colors of the rainbow.
Slowly, day by day, people start to trust her and invite her for coffee.
We set up a network of community child homes. It provided a library, games, choir, and a human rights center for young prisoners.
I started to go to the children's houses. Most of the kids in camp were going.
You know, because during the first Intifada, the official educational system collapsed. Teachers were in prison. Schools were shut down.
These children joined hands in a battle for freedom. with a rock and a burning tire. They shouted their passion for liberty, for an end to oppression and humiliation, and for the hope of a better life, the hope of the Intifada. This is where our paths met.
Yusef Sweetat, young actor, the Stone Theater.
I met Arna on the street. I wanted to understand why she had come here. We were already playing theater games, but it wasn't serious. We had nobody to guide us. Then Arna's son, Giuliano, came.
My mother received the Right Livelihood Award, and with the prize money, built a small theater in the middle of the camp called the Stone Theater. Being an actor, I took care of the theater activities.
Giuliano taught me a lot of things I could use in the future.
I succeeded in gathering a nice group of young people, and we did a very good show.
The Little Lantern was the first play I ever saw. There were lights, costumes, decor. I didn't believe what I was seeing.
I played one of the ministers who tried to steal the sun from the queen.
The story is by the writer Ghassan Kanafani, who gave it to his niece as a gift. When the Israelis exploded the car that killed Ghassan, his niece, she actually died with him.
I learned I could oppose the Israeli occupation through theater. I can tell people what I feel, what I want and don't want, whether I love life or not.
Our task was never easy. It was not paved with roses, but mined with bullets and soldiers, anxious mothers and frightened children whose wounds have yet to heal.
I'm not exaggerating. Giuliano is like a brother to me. And I love Arna like my own mother, even more.
I came toward these children with the burden of my past, my broken half. I tried to tear away the veil of hypocrisy and crime, which leaves them wounded on the battlefield without first aid. We shall not halt our struggle on behalf of these children and all others until peace and freedom can flow from their dreams and become reality.
In the mid-90s, after the death of my mother from cancer, the theater was closed down, and I did not return to Jenin for 5 years.
Well, thank you. That set of reflections comes with remembrance of the Freedom Theater in Jenin, a theater that was begun in the midst of a refugee camp. And we're very grateful for your artistic rendition. Thank you to Michael and Lynn. We're going to
Could I just say the Freedom Theater is very much alive. They're struggling now working with children and trauma, but they're still very much alive in Jenin refugee camp.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, well, we want to have a chance for discussion and for people to ask questions of the people who've been involved in this last segment. So Michael and Lynette, if you could remain unmuted, and we hope that Ryan Black, he's with us, can be unmuted, and thanks, Ryan. And also Paige and Ken and Sergey, Ben Grosskopf, and Sally. So please feel free, those of you who are part of the call, to put a question in the chat for any of these folks. And if anyone would like to make a comment right now, we've got until the end of the hour to hear more from you.
Sure, I would quickly hop in just to say, So with Diffuse Nuclear War, which is the coalition that I help lead, we just had Daniel Ellsberg Week. So you saw some of the speeches at Vandenberg Space Force Base. Now I always want to say Air Force Base, but it's Space Force Base now. So you saw some speeches there. There were several more. There were like 20 people or something. So McGregor, again, just want to second what you said earlier, Kathy. Great job to McGregor, really turning that into a focal point for ICBM organizing. So thank you so much, McGregor. There were also in-person events in 4 or 5 other cities across the country, and 10 or so other online events, Zoom events, things like that. So we did all sorts of things. And then in addition to that, I posted it in the chat just a minute ago, but at diffusenuclearwar.org, right on the homepage there, you'll see a link, or if you just scroll about halfway down the page, to a short film we put together of Daniel Ellsberg, an interview he gave about 2 years ago. It's called A Common Insanity, a conversation with Daniel Ellsberg about nuclear weapons. And it really delves, about 37, 38 minutes long, really delves into the question of ICBMs and if we should still be funding them or if we still need them, how dangerous they are, and just how close we are to the potential for all-out nuclear war. So strongly suggest everyone go check that out.
Thank you, Ryan. Sally and Michael, thank you for mentioning that traumatized children in Jenin are still being served by the Freedom Theater in the Jenin refugee camp. And I wonder, would you want to comment about any of the recent attacks on people who live in that camp?
Well, one of the areas that we focus on is cultural resistance. And that's why we did the Revolution's Promise, because it's about artists in the Freedom Theater, a number of whom are in prison, including the president of the board of the Freedom Theater, who's in prison without charge, without trial. But Jenin has always been a hotbed. They call it the Little Gaza, because there has been resistance to the occupation for a very long time in Jenin camp. And right now, the West Bank is under severe assault by settlers and the Israeli army and the police because everybody is looking the other way. So we feel this is an important project because the assault is going on against Palestinians everywhere, not simply not, as if it isn't bad enough, the genocide in Gaza, but it is also quietly going on everywhere else in Israel, Palestine.
Thank you, Sally. And maybe, Ben, would you want to say something about your songs of resistance and what's been most inspirational for you of late?
Thank you, Kathy. Well, you were very inspirational to me as an activist when I got started about 25 years ago as a young person before I went to Iraq with Voices in the Wilderness. As of late, I've been bringing my music to campus protests throughout the spring. I live in Western Massachusetts, and I really believe in the power of song as a movement organizing tool. And for me, I've been writing songs and really making an effort to work with different people who are movement leaders to try to bring musical expression to the political ideas that really inform our movements. And I think there's something so beautiful. I mean, all the arts are so important. And I think where I come in with the song leadership aspect and the singing is that there is a very practical issue for many demonstrations, I think, which is like, how do we get to feel something collective? So often we are like feeling in our bodies kind of isolated as individuals, unless people are like closely knit. But very often people come to a big demonstration and don't really know each other yet. And sometimes the music is a way to create a certain feeling inside the body, a feeling of connectedness that comes with literally breathing in unison together in rhythm, and then lyrics that can convey a message that is about freedom and liberation. So that's kind of how I like to roll, and just feeling so blessed to be part of this event with World Beyond War today. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ben.
I should mention I'm the director of the People's Music Network for Songs of Freedom and Struggle. We're a membership organization that is of activist songwriters and musicians that are using their songs in the movement. We're having a number of upcoming events in New York City and Groton, Massachusetts, both July and also in October. So I'll drop the link for People's Music Network.
Well, thank you. And Sergey, I wonder if you have any responses to that.
Would you restate the question?
Just, do you have any responses to what Ben just said about the importance of music and demonstrations?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said.
Okay, thank you.
I feel like my songs are not always appropriate. I don't write as directly. So it's not often that I bring my songs to protest, unfortunately.
Okay. And before we close, I wonder, Ryan Black, do you have any further words you'd want to say about the continued efforts to close or to resist the Sentinel weapons being placed in Vandenberg Air Force Base?
Yeah, I would just say that right now, more than any other time in my lifetime, there's a lot of attention on ICBMs and the huge amount of money that's pouring into them. It's already, what, 30–40% over budget. It's going to continue being more and more and more over budget as it moves forward. There's a chance to stop it. We need more people on the ground making noise and contacting the representatives just to let them know that we know about ICBMs. We are aware of them. We know that they're a waste. We know that they make us more dangerous, and to keep sharing the film, that Daniel Ellsberg film I was talking about, but then also the plethora of articles that have been coming out over the last 6 months, over the last year, about Sentinel, about its costs, and the red flags people are waving, saying we don't need this. So yeah, just keep making noise.
Thank you, Ryan, and thank you for all your hard work. And Sally, could we hear from you?
Yeah, just
We
one
gotta
more
move
thing.
on.
Michael reminded me, as he's a war resistor, by the way, from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. But just to say, the Revolution's Promise has been performed in 13 countries. If you go online to the Freedom Theater or the Revolution's Promise, you can find it, download it, get the scripts, perform all of it or parts of it in your community. It's an amazing way to start and have discussions about the genocide in Gaza.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who participated in this segment. And David's going to move us on to the next segment. We hope you'll all stay with us. Thanks, David.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank everyone. I'm going to stop the recording and restart it. I'm going to stop the restreaming and restart it. So if you are watching on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, it's going to stop and restart. If you want to watch the coming section,
you didn't know we were there.
If you are not speaking, if you could please mute, it would be much appreciated. Please mute. I'm going to hand this off to Gabriela Aguirre. Don't mute me, please. Mute yourself. I'm going to hand this off to Gabriela Aguirre. The next section is going to be in Spanish. If you want to try to get a non-perfect translation, I recommend going to youtube.com/worldbeyondwar or YouTube of International Peace Bureau. Thanks. Gabriel.
Muchísimas gracias, David. Thank you so much for everyone. Let's start the